All right, all right. Welcome everyone to Take Human Action PA. This is episode 61. I'm Calvin, I'm your host, and we're back. We've got a couple episodes already planned out for the next few weeks. So for next week, we have Michael Rechtenwald lined up, and the week after that, we have Hannah Goodman, chair of Libertarian Party of Colorado. We're trying to get back into a little more of a regular schedule. It's not. It's looking like it won't be as consistent in terms of uh, the specific day and time that we have things for a while, just because I'll be traveling a lot. So my apologies to that. We're working on that as best we can here. But in the meantime, there's a lot going on within the broader sphere of libertarian politics and politics in general. So we're going to try to keep you all informed with, our interesting guests and topics as we move forward. And we definitely have a good one tonight. I've been looking forward to this one. So we have with us tonight the founder of Free and Equal Elections, an organization that's been hosting presidential debates since 2008. So it's a long time, long track record. It's a big project we're working on. Our guest has also been a thought leader in electoral reform and voters' rights movements. And in addition to being the founder and chair of Free and Equal Elections, she also runs the petitioning company Free and Equal. So she has a lot of experience with elections and ballot access. So I'm sure we'll have a good conversation about that. So let's welcome Christina Tobin. How are you doing, Christina?
Hi, Calvin. Thanks for having me. I'm doing well.
Yeah,
How are you tonight?
yeah, I'm doing well. It's great to have you on. So what we normally do for first-time guests on this show is we start with you telling us. So, what's your background? What got you interested in politics, and what brought you to start the organizations?
When I was 13 years old, playing with dolls at my dad's office, my dad, Jim Tobin, was spearheading a petition drive with Paul Jacob, of creator of Ballotpedia, and I saw 1 million signatures stacked, and it was for term limits. And like, wow, that's a lot of pieces of paper. And when I was
Oh yeah.
17, Dad ran for governor as a Libertarian party for governor, and I saw at 17 years of age the unconstitutional, really restrictive ballot access laws that the people in office, Democrats, Republicans alike, have created to keep third party and independent candidates off the ballot. So in Illinois, back in when I was 17 in 1998, my dad had to get 25,000 signatures as a libertarian versus only 5,000 for Democrats and Republicans. So a couple of years later, I ended up coordinating my dad's petition drive when he ran for lieutenant governor. He didn't get on the ballot in 98, unfortunately. I took on the drive 4 years later, and he did get on the ballot as lieutenant governor. And that really opened up the portal to where years later, Ralph Nader needed help defending signatures in Illinois in the early 2000s, 2004. And in 2008, Ralph Nader brought me in as his national ballot access coordinator. So I oversaw all of the petitions, millions of signatures for 10 years while I was in Chicago. I saw the corruption. As an independent individual, I saw within the corrupt Chicago Board of Elections the realm of the Obama and Rahm Emanuel and Madigan and so on and so on, what they did to keep candidates off the ballot. And I helped get a lot of independent Democrats, Republicans, third parties, independents on the ballot with a really high success rate in a very corrupt state of Chicago, Illinois, the Chicago Board of Elections. So in 2008, I took that knowledge and that experience and went in and coordinated the national ballot drive for Ralph Nader, getting him on the ballot as an independent for president in 45 states plus DC. We only had enough money for those states. We would have done all 50, I think, if we had enough funds. But that is what sparked the creation of Free and Equal Elections. And that year, Ralph Nader hosted and opened the presidential debates rally. And that's where I met some celebrities and supporters and learned about the improvement, I would say. The Commission on Presidential Debates, really what it does to keep outsiders, or really third party independents, even independent D's and R's out of the debates, and that created the beginning of free and equal elections when we hosted at that time the first nationally televised presidential debate outside of the mainstream Commission on Presidential Debates, DNC, RNC, which they only include their parties, and their criteria is really unfair. And we at Free and Equal Elections, we continue to open our criteria more and more. And since 2008, we've been hosting presidential debates. And we also have been Free and Equal Elections putting on other events like United We Stand festivals, which I can go into greater detail, blockchain election system app, and so on. It's a real big vision building at Free and Equal Elections.
Yeah, that sounds like you have a lot going on, and we'll definitely get into it. So, I noticed on your website that you have presidential debates going every 4 years starting 2008. So that's definitely a long time. So how would you say the debates have changed over time?
In 2008, we were originally, booked to have our debate at Columbia University. And as far as I feel strongly, the reason why there hasn't been many debates outside of the mainstream Commission on Presidential Debates, RNC, DNC, the most difficult thing, Calvin, in putting on the debates was getting candidates to confirm. Even in 2008, I had just worked as the National Ballot Access Coordinator for Ralph Nader, and I was dealing with these internal politics of the Libertarian Party candidate at the time. Bob Barr said, I would only debate Ralph Nader. And Ralph was like, well, only do a debate with Bob Barr. And I'm sitting back and thinking, well, how are you guys any different from the D's and R's if you're not going to include Green Party constitutional? And that was the most difficult challenge for Free and Equal Elections. How have the debates changed as far as the Commission on Presidential Debates? Not at all. I think the only change is that it's dissolving, it's expiring. The RNC's pulled their support from the CPD. I guess it's a big change, and the people are wanting a debate that we're not here to have arguments between the candidates. We're here to respect each other's ideas. And that's something that having had candidates of sometimes 2 or 4 or up to 18 candidates at moderate at a time, for them to have such a vast difference in ideas, but yet listen and respect one another. They're there to speak to the voters. They're there to serve as a duty in their role as president or all different races, doesn't matter, across the board equally. They're there to represent the people. So our debates are here to allow the candidates to view or express their viewpoints and really allow those viewpoints to reach the masses. So I think the Commission on Presidential Debates has been the same that it's been since the late 70s, corrupt. They stole that platform originally from the League of Women Voters in the early 70s, who originally created the debates. And the Commission on Presidential Debates, big money, pharmaceutical, military-industrial complex, the list goes on, funds and backs the Commission on Presidential Debates. And the League of Women Voters of the United States is right when they have stated that the CPD, that is Commission on Presidential Debates, has perpetuated a fraud on the American voters. And so not much has changed except for the fact that it is dissolving. I think it's part of the old paradigm, and we're seeing a new paradigm rise beyond presidential debates. But here at Free and Equal Elections, I feel strongly we're going to pave the way for becoming the mainstream debate for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, most people aren't aware that the League of Women Voters operated the 1976, 1980, and 1984 presidential debates, and the way they did it was definitely a lot more fair. It's like not even comparable to the way the Commission on Presidential Debates does it now. And even then, Commission on Presidential Debates, despite the name, it's not a public entity at all. It's a private entity that was founded by the Democrats and the Republicans, and it's essentially crowded out anyone outside the two parties ever since then. So
you're
there's
right.
nothing democratic about it.
It's kind of like the Federal Reserve. There's nothing federal about it. It's private. It's the Commission on Presidential Debates. Same thing. It is a private entity. Thanks for bringing that up, Calvin, because it is as Ralph Nader taught me and many others, the CPD has really created this grand illusion that there's only two political parties, and that's not the case. So it is he felt in 2008, he told me one of the most powerful tools, Ralph Nader told me one-on-one, that he feels that the two-party system is created to create this grand illusion that there's only two parties, when in fact there are many more. And of course, a lot of independent candidates, I think, on the horizon. in this cycle. So, and so on for many cycles to come.
Yeah, and something that's different about this year compared to 2008 is that we're in the middle of a paradigm shift right now, where we're shifting away from the mainstream media controlling things and to independent media. Like the podcasts that are out there now are getting so much more attention than the old media. And somebody even like Ron Paul, who would not have been able to get attention outside of his grassroots movement, not been able to get any media really whatsoever, now he has his own podcast. He can go on a bunch of other podcasts, and we can just bypass the entire system. And it looks like you're in a perfect position to take advantage of that now.
To an extent, we can bypass. The system is adjusting accordingly to change the laws, as we've heard on Russell Brand going in detail, and other, really just a lot of independent journalists across the board, but really doing what they can to even censor Rumble and X, Twitter, and so on. So I knew there'd come a time truly when 9/11 happened, and I saw the initial of like creating the NDA, the National Defense Authorization Act, NDAA, and the Patriot Act. I'm like, oh, the writing is on the wall, full on censorship. Do we want to put all of our efforts with free and equal into social media and our proceeds, or do we want to build events from the ground up and really have this credibility so deeply rooted? Because all the libertarians and Greens and Constitution Party, it doesn't matter what party across the board, independents, independent Ds and Rs, that are going to believe in a truly independent movement, they're going to do the research. And I loved in recent interviews that I put on or been a part of, in comments, people have done their research on my history with my father leading the first tax revolt against the income tax back in 77, 76, 77. And so I really come from my father fighting against tax increases for, 40 something years, running one of the largest tax fighting organizations in Illinois, arguably the United States. I really come from a place of bringing transparency within our elections. So I knew and felt there'd come a time social media would be suppressed, and they're really going to try even harder. And that's where an independent movement needs to come in that really takes off overnight. And once that idea comes, as many mentors and scholars and leaders have said historically, once that idea comes, nothing will get in its way. So I've stuck at this. I've been very relentless, because I knew there'd come a day that a platform like this would be needed more than ever to unite our country, the United States of America, and inevitably our world.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. So, and now looking at today, and I just want to say about Bob Barr, he was definitely not my cup of tea, and not the kind of person that the Mises Caucus would have supported. So the Libertarian Party is far away from that now. We have a lot of candidates now that are seeking the Libertarian nomination, and it's just been getting progressively better from what I can tell. On the whole, we have people who have larger profiles that are coming in and seeking our nominations. So whatever happens this year, it's definitely looking like it's going to be more promising, and we're going to get a lot more eyeballs on our candidates now than ever. And I think that's going to help with the debates as well, because I know you have a lot of plans for how this year with the debates is going to be different. So why don't you tell us what's going to be different about this year and what you're expecting to happen with that?
Well, I mean, as far as the challenges with candidates, I find with parties, both Green, Libertarians, even this last run, the Constitution Party candidate, why does the name escape me this last cycle, if anybody can remember?
Daryl Castle, perhaps?
Yeah, Daryl Castle confirmed to be a part of our debate in 2020, and last minute changed his mind out of left field. So I contacted my friends that have been the head of the Constitution Party for 30 years. They're like, yeah, our party's been co-opted and taken over by Republican operatives. And that's why Daryl pulled out. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And I've gone through this with the Green Party. Sometimes it's really amicable, sometimes really not. And same with Libertarians. Like right now, it's been super amicable with Angela McArdle as the state chair. She's been super easy to work with. Of course, there's so many viewpoints within the Libertarian parties, probably more than most parties, I would say. So no, a lot of them, but just third parties and ideas and people. And for me, I see beyond the political parties. I see each person as an individual. And I love like the comment Matthew Butts has right here saying that he loves the idea that I'm I don't care about if I'm helping the left or the right or otherwise. And that is so true. And I do, again, care that whether you're left or right, that you care about our country, that you care about our people, you want better things to happen, you especially not beholden to big money, corporate and or interest, just money that controls the puppets, the strings and all. And there are so many more of us than them. So when we unite beyond party lines and see that there's far more that we can agree on than not, oh my gosh, so many beautiful things are going to change. And I think a lot of people that are part of the current expired and or expiring and or I don't know if collapsing is the right word, but the system that's just like kind of just withering away would be the way to say it. I think a lot of them are going to be excited to be a part of this as well, and then many are just going to disappear and just go back in their lives. Let's not spend too much energy fighting this old paradigm. Let's peacefully replace a couple hundred people in Congress first, and then legislature and state board of elections. I mean, to all levels, targeting Congress first, because it'll just spread from there. And let's start building the paradigm and focus on love and compassion. And so I just, that's where I'm at. And that's where my mindset is set at the end of the tunnel of this moment that I have here on Earth, which some say is maybe a split of 2 seconds. So I'm going to definitely make the biggest wave that I can make and really urge everybody listening today with what you're doing, Calvin, and the waves that we can have that ripple effect that will carry on for years, decades, generations to come. I mean, that's where I'm at, and I will continue doing what I'm doing because it's all I know.
No, those very kind words. I certainly hope so. That's what I'm trying to do. And you definitely have a lot of fans in the comments, and I'd say in the libertarian space in general right now. Yeah, Dave and Matthew are both solid guys. Actually, Dave was our guest on the last show, so we had a good conversation about for the presidential candidates in the Libertarian Party.
So your question before was like how things have evolved. Were you saying?
Well, I'm saying, like, what surprises do you have coming up in the presidential debate coming up in a few months? Because you just went on a certain big platform the other week and announced a moderator and a new voting system that you're going to use. So tell us all about that.
Yeah, thanks for refreshing. It's been a long day. I usually have my little book with questions because my mind is just so multi-dimensional. I'm an organizer. And so some of the projects we have, well, the big one is we have announced the kickoff for a presidential debate series, a 2024 presidential debate series. We'll have our first debate this winter. And Jimmy Dore, I mean, he has confirmed to be our co-moderator. I'm honored, like truly honored to be co-moderating this first presidential debate with him. And we're looking at a third co-moderator, 3 co-moderators. So comedy is so, as I said, with the Jimmy Dore, you can look up Jimmy Dore, Christina Tobin, myself, or Jimmy Dore moderates presidential debate on Rumble, YouTube, ideally Rumble. Sign up for Rumble if you haven't already, because they can be trusted thus far. And but you can go on there and see. I mean, Jimmy is intelligent. He's funny. He's not beholden to big money, and he asks the hard questions. And I hope that we can even do a poll we'll have at least 5 questions for the first debate, maybe a few more, where the people can really be engaged with what those topics would be for those questions. So definitely Jimmy doesn't hold back. And this debate, Free and Equal Elections, will be hosting the presidential debate this winter with Jimmy Dore and myself co-moderating. So we've had Larry King in the past, 2012, the late Larry King. We've even had Chris Hedges in 2008. Pulitzer Prize winning journalist, and then 2016, Mr. Ed Asner of the Lou Grant, Mary Tyler Moore Show. So quite a variety, even with our gubernatorial debates. I've had Professor Griff co-moderate with me of Public Enemy. I've even gone into the music industry and had those sort of co-moderators on more of a statewide level. But very excited for the debate. You can go to freeandequal.org, and all the information is there. And we are raising the money from the ground up. We have hit 25% or so of our goal since the interview last week to raise 30,000. So we're upwards of 8,000 now. And I'm really, really looking forward to more interviews this week and next to put the word out there about this kickoff for this debate. And really the people's poll. The people are going to decide. That's a big one, Calvin. There's over 100 people on Ballotpedia. I looked, 100 people running for president. That's a lot of people. And that's inspiring To think that over 100 people care that much about our country, that they're willing to run for president, it's very, very cool. So I cannot decide who's the top six. We're going to have top six candidates in our first debate. And so we're going to launch a blockchain voting app to decide via ranked choice voting, that blockchain app, the people's poll. The people will decide who will be the top six candidates in our first debate. So it could be a libertarian and a couple Greens, or a couple libertarians, one or two Democrats, maybe one, two, whoever it is. And the top six will be invited. And let's say if Biden is one of the top six invited, if he doesn't accept to be at our debate by a certain timeline, once invited, then we'll allow the seventh person in, and so on. So this is truly free and equal elections, letting the people decide who's in the debate. And I'm excited to implement blockchain voting into what we're doing, because blockchain voting will transform our elections and bring about political transparency. And I can elaborate more on that as well. That is the really long-term beating of the heart of where free and equal elections is going, because we have multiple projects. Free and equal hosts presidential debates. We've hosted gubernatorial Senate debates. We've hosted for 10 years electoral reform symposiums, bringing together experts on all topics from ballot access to gerrymandering to voting machines, you name it, listed, so on and so on. And we also started hosting in 2014 the United We Stand Festival, which Dr. Ron Paul said, if we're ever going to bring about revolutionary changes, he said two things would need to be involved: the youth and music. And that quote really sparked the creation of United We Stand, which is bringing together conscious artists, thought leaders, organizations, a coalition around the presidential debate series. I do anticipate we'll have an artist perform a song before the debate. So Jimmy Dore and I, and a third co-moderator is what I'm seeing this winter. So that's exciting, because the music and arts is going to bring us together. And finally, the blockchain app, which will be really the long-term beating heart of free and equal elections. And as I mentioned before, we'll bring about that transparency once and for all within our elections. And there's a long-term plan of how we're going to achieve that. And you could go to freeandequal.org and find more details there.
Yeah, so I can tell already just from the comments, there's a lot of interest in that. So why don't you explain the voting method that's being used, and how and when people will be able to vote? Like, give us all the details.
Well, I've got to definitely, I see Irene's comment there. It's so important. I meant to say that Rumble is live streaming the debate. That's 180 million users, and rock on Rumble, because they live stream RNC and had it open to the people. And I love what they stand for, decentralized. And that's where we're at with free and equal elections, with decentralization. So your question was on the blockchain, was it? Excuse me?
Yeah, so what's the voting method going to be, and
Yes.
how and when can people vote?
Yes. Well, the blockchain voting app will incorporate ranked choice voting. I've been inspired a lot by a lot of different voting methods. During our symposiums, I've learned about ranked choice voting. I've learned about approval voting. They've been a very big supporter of free and equal elections. Love them. Score voting, star voting. We decided to go with ranked choice voting for this round. Fair Vote has led a pretty significant nationwide effort. Rob Ritchie there and his team to implement ranked choice voting. So that's going to be incorporated into the blockchain app. Right now, we focus, Jimmy Dore asked the same question. When is the voting going to start? How long? Right now, we got to raise some money for the venue and the production. 30,000, that's not much money. What I can do and free and equal elections can do with 30,000, this is not about big money. This is about putting on the best debate through the connections, people-powered movement that we can. And once we lock in fact, we have a prominent venue that is interested in hosting our debate in Los Angeles. It's a dream come true. I mean, I just got off the phone with our producer. That's like, this is just one of the best venues that we could possibly offer. I'm like, wow. So fingers crossed. And that's how this movement is going to be built. So once we lock that in, we'll be able to announce the details on the blockchain app. But you can go to freeandequal.org and you can register there to get more details about the blockchain app. So as soon as we have those details, everybody will get the email and be notified when it will start, beginning date and end date for that blockchain voting poll, the people's poll.
Right. And Irene, I know, has been helping out the project. She's been a big help with it. And yeah, she's adding some additional information in the comments. I believe she's the executive director, and yeah, she's saying There's no corporate money here. It's all going off of individual donations. So all the donations that go to the Give Butter link will go directly to make this debate happen. So I'll throw the link at the bottom there so you all can see it. It's givebutter.com/free and equal debate, which I believe will also be in the show notes. So take a look at that afterwards. And this is definitely a worthwhile project to help out.
Thanks, Calvin. And you can go to freeandequal.org, and that'll take you right to the Give Butter as well. We have the splash page that pops up, and you can click to donate there. So I am to be able to raise almost $8,000 from over 150, 200 people. That is really at the heart of how this debate series is meant to kick off. And I do anticipate more support in the future, but we're going to have a debate no matter. It's just a matter of how big it's going to be. So yeah, any support that libertarians, all people, we support more voices, more choices out there that resonate with really wanting to overcome this wrongful censoring of speech. I mean, we're for freedom of speech. And again, really at the forefront of sparking an independent movement here for years and decades to come. I'm just getting started with 25 years of experience under my belt.
Mm-hmm. Well, you've definitely been at this for long enough to get some attention, because you've had a lot of attention even before this, and you're getting even more attention now. So, and it's all starting to come together really nicely from what I've seen. And one thing that struck me about it early on when I first learned about this was the voting method itself. I just find very fascinating, because I know I haven't spent nearly as much time on like ballot access as you have. But I have spent some time on it, and one thing that I remember is that it's virtually impossible to get polls to include third-party candidates. And like a lot of times you have to, especially as a third-party candidate, you have to pay for the polling yourself. So to get to the CPD's threshold is like 15% over the course of like 5 polls or something like that. That's super expensive. That alone is a huge barrier to entry. So not relying on polls and anything else that could be potentially slanted using this voting system is possibly the best way before election day to get a real sense of where people's heads are at on the different candidates.
I mean, imagine the poll is including over 100 candidates, so beyond even third parties. I mean, independent individuals, so all inclusive. And may the people who want to vote the top 6 into the live debates, I'm excited to be honored to meet them and for them to moderate the debate and to hear their different viewpoints and ideas, because this is what's going to bring about solutions. I'm a solutionist, so there's no problems, only solutions. And I've been watching, as Lennon has said, and people are like, oh, John Lennon, he's communist, or, have that stigma. I'm like, no, I see him totally independent individual. I see a lot of people that make waves and impact like Lennon, and even Ed Asner of the Mary Tyler Moore Show, wrongfully attacked by the system because they stand for people and voices. And here I am, been watching the wheels go round and round for a quarter of a century and recognizing there are no problems, only solutions. And so through that conversation within our debates, we're going to find some humor and laughter. It's very serious times, and we know with what's going on around the world, and divisiveness and chaos, and none of this comes as a surprise. A cycle happens every 30, 50, so on years to feed the military industrial complex. And then we have the pharmaceutical and so on. And so the food industry and Monsanto, I mean, my goodness, like when we have people like you and I and then other individuals are listening that run for office, these things are just not going to be a problem anymore. It's all going to be resolved, and we'll be able to see it under a blockchain ledger, what's real, what isn't real. And AI is here. It's not going anywhere, and it can be used and will be used for great things when you have the right money and people behind it. So I'm really excited as well for this debate to happen. And it's time to really implement the blockchain voting into it. And we're going to definitely, as the tour builds out, I've been learning about NFTs and metaverse and a lot about alternative currency and what the system's done to really crack down on Bitcoin. Alternative currency is no good. And we can see the writing on the wall with the digital currency. So these are the kind of topics and beyond that we'll be discussing during our debate series. So And people are going to be, I think, more engaged than ever, more excited, and shifting into that no more hope, no more change. Don't even think that way, because the moment you think that way, you become a part of the problem. And that, for me, that is just not going to happen. And in any way that I can shift as many viewpoints around the world, the United States of America first, really world simultaneously, I've done my job. I'm going to keep doing that all the way, because when we start getting involved and getting engaged and realizing these flaws of the system, like the debates where they change it to keep people out, you were addressing Tulsi Gabbard. I mean, she should have been in the debate. We know why she wasn't. And we go back to Ross Perot. I mean, since he got in the debates, have not let anybody into the debates, and we know why. And then you have people like arguably Trump that got elected, didn't get elected a second time. Why didn't Ron Paul get elected? There's a lot of flaws. Yes. So let's fix it. Like, the ladder's not an option. Giving up's not an option. We go in and fix it, and we're going to have a lot of fun doing it. And we're going to make it a lot of fun within this series, and we'll build out into the United We Stand tour.
Awesome. So there's definitely other areas I want to cover, but before we move on from the voting, how can people find out when it's ready? And tell us what you got about that. How should people follow us, and what's
sure.
going on?
Yeah, if you want to vote for the top 6 candidates for our presidential debate this winter, Jimmy Dore's moderating, you could go to freeandequal.org, and you can register today. There'll be a pop-up box, and so register for more details about that blockchain app, and you will be emailed once we book the probably 3rd moderator, as well as the venue. And we have Rumble. We just got off the phone with Pacifica Radio. That's huge, 222 radios, independent radios. They're very interested and want to broadcast the debate. And I think it's just going to continue to build. Then we will be sharing the details of when that app will be launched. The details of the app, go to nexus.io. They're the coders and developers. Colin Cantrell has been in the arena for quite some time. His father co-founded SpaceX, I think, or VP of SpaceX, Jim Cotrell, with Elon Musk. So we're very honored to have him doing the coding and developing and building the team of coders and developers and interface around this app. There will be different phases for the first debate because of depending on monetary and time frame. We're going to do a text message where you text message and you're able to vote through a text message. But as we build out credibility and confidence, people feeling confident to vote within our text messaging, we're going to shift into an app, which takes a longer process. As many coder and developers I've learned, not being one, but from coders and developers, can take months and so in the making. So, which will require even more verification, so we can secure that vote as we become more mainstream. So this is what we're going to do for the first round, and you can go to freeandequal.org to sign up, and you'll be emailed more information in the near future.
Yeah, also the social media accounts will post it when everything's ready. So in addition to doing that, you would want to check out the pages for Free and Equal. Like on Twitter, it's at Free and Equal. And if you search Free and Equal on just about any other platform, you could find it there as well. So that'll be good for everyone to follow when the voting is coming out. As far as the debate itself, you touched on this a little bit earlier, but I want to expand upon it. How are the debate questions and topics going to be chosen?
Yes. Well, in the past, the people have been pleased with our debate topics and choices. In 2012, we had there was some sort of poll where the people decided one of the questions. It's kind of vague. I have to go back and watch it in live time. This time around, I'm initially going to lean on Jimmy Dore with what the 5 topics should be, and our 3rd co-moderator and myself making the final choice. But I definitely, with enough momentum and money raised, let's say we have the vote, and of 100 candidates, we accumulate an email list of large, right? Because every campaign, they want to be the top 6 candidates. My goal is to allow the people to decide the topic of what those top 5, 6 questions will be. Will we have that momentum and that ability for the first debate? I hope so. But over time, I've been wanting to do a blockchain voting app like this for since 2012. So I've been very patient, and just because of proceeds and or support team, it's just a combination to get there. And so whenever we're able to achieve it where the people can vote what those questions will be, that's the goal. In the short run, at the very least and most, Jimmy Dore, if you watch him, definitely hard-hitting questions. I think I'm confident that people are going to be very happy with the 5 questions. I mean, Jimmy isn't going to just accept any question that I want. He's going to be like, no, we need this. And between the two of us, it'll be great. And a third co-moderator. So that's where we're at now with the questions. But I want to integrate more people into it, and possibly the 5th and final, depending on time, hopefully we can have 6 or 7 questions, right? The debate will be 2 hours. So sometimes they can answer a little faster, and you can slip another question or two in there. I hope the last question can and will be asked by a live member of the audience. Would be cool. So that's the free-flowing idea, and I always welcome everybody's ideas. This entire movement is created. Sure, I am the founder, but I've gotten all the ideas, some from myself, but mostly from the people. And so I welcome messages, emails. I read them all right now, and I will do my best to continue to do that. And I really take ideas from the people to better this platform. So I welcome anybody's ideas beyond what I've discussed on the questions, because we're always here to improve and get even better at free and equal elections.
Well, since you mention it, what is your email that they can send things to?
Oh, the email is info, I-N-F-O, at freeandequal, freeandequal.org.
All right, so I'm sure I'll get a few requests. Hopefully, all good ideas. And this is what I was thinking too. But Matthew Butts also mentioned this. Jimmy has destroyed campaigns already this cycle. So I think what he means by that is he doesn't let people get away with, not really answering the question, or, taking stances that in his mind, like, don't really make any sense. Like he had a show with Cornel West that was interesting, to say the least. So he's not afraid to get confrontational, and sometimes that might be needed in a debate if people are stepping over the line. So I think he'll bring a lot of interesting perspectives to the debate for sure.
Yeah, I've had a talk with Jimmy. I mean, we all are pretty aware, for example, his difference with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., right? Very, very emotional topic with Israel and war. And we've agreed privately reasons as to why that may have happened. And we both felt the same way. And I've really briefed with Jimmy, as I will with all the candidates, that we're not here to attack one another. We're here to hold firm, be matter of fact. He's a moderator. He's not interviewing the candidates, he's moderating. So we're here to shift, like Larry King did in 2012, and Ed Asner, and even Chris Hedges, to listen to the candidates' ideas. So we will be using the League of Women Voters format, which actually engages more of a format where we can listen to the candidates. A 2-minute opening, 2-minute closing. Each candidate, let's say there's 5 questions. They have 2 minutes to answer each question. And then they have X amount of rebuttals and or can extend on a question for 1 minute. So they take turns. We have 5 candidates, give or take. I draw from a hat who's left, right, randomly on video, because it's so random. And the first question is asked to the first person on the far left. And then the second question, the second from the left, and so on. So just really treating everybody equally across the board. And Jimmy understands we're really here to really focus on the flaws of the system. And I think that's something, whether you're Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Cornel West is different, but he ran for president, and he's running for president. He was originally recruited by the People's Party. I love the People's Party. For me, that shows purity of him wanting to run in the first place. He was recruited, not maybe seeking, I would say recruited, jumped to the Green Party. And now he's going independent, which he's right back to 0 ballot lines, which is a big factor of why he may have done that. But benefit of the doubt, sometimes parties can be difficult to work with. And Cornel and the Green Party, they're both very strong personalities on both ends. So I'm just glad more voices, more choices. We welcome at the debates. And I'm confident Jimmy will be as well behaved as Jimmy can be. So this isn't it's a different sort of platform, and he's very professional, and I'm honored for him to really pave the way as a leader and being our first moderator for this series. He's a catalyst. It's very cool, and he's going to be funny. And I think we're going to see the best of Jimmy during this debate, as well as the candidates.
Oh yeah, that's fair. I'm sure.
But
I'm
I
sure
hear
he
you,
has.
Matthew. But I hear you. It crossed my
Yeah.
mind. And Jimmy, when I asked him, he's like, "Are you sure you want me to be?" I'm like, "Yep, I definitely do," because I think you can shine a really positive light on the candidates within the debate, and especially with the third moderator that we're looking to incorporate. It's going to be a really good balance.
Yeah, that's fair. And I'm sure that the intention is not for the moderators to be debating the candidates. That's not what I meant to imply. It's more in terms of just getting to the facts of the matter, and that's important. And keeping the times for all the candidates the same is important as well. And I'm sure that you're going to be able to do that as you have been in the previous debates.
Yes, I will definitely do that. It'll be definitely a balancing act, a delicate balance, but it's what I do. I've become experienced in this arena. In 2008, I did not have the confidence is the right word. I felt too
Mm-hmm.
shy or did not know. I mean, the debate with Chris Hedges, I did not sit next to him as a co-moderator because I was very nervous. I mean, the debate just literally was built overnight. We booked that venue the day before, and it was so many roadblocks we hit. Another topic, or if you want to know, so many roadblocks, but the debate happened. It was slated to be at Columbia University originally, and every single mainstream media outlet you could ever imagine confirmed for that debate, and I couldn't get one candidate to confirm. Like, that's where our first debate started in 2008. I cannot even tell you the heartbreak of like it just so was just a lot of hurdles, and that's where I come from. I don't give up, and I know that we were right there at the beginning once, and we'll be there. I've stuck this out knowing that the need for this sort of platform would come sometime in the future. I think we're close to that now, this cycle 24, 28, 32. I've learned to just let go and do the best I can, and surround myself with wonderful people like Dr. Irene has been. I mean, she has really helped uplift and bring this debate platform, and many others. Angela McCardle of the National Libertarian Party chair. Of course, Nick Brana has just poured his heart, as well. But Irene is really beyond just this magic of really getting our debates where they are today. So thank you for that. But yeah, it's the people that are building this, and I'm looking forward to seeing where we move forward with this. And of course, Calvin, you are another person that's helped free and equal elections, if I may say, on your own time. And as soon as we have you and 4 or 5, if anybody listening to this, libertarians are hard workers. I mean, I know I've worked with all different political parties and then the petitioning world as well, but man, libertarians, they get it done, like across the board. You guys are hard workers.
Well, I was going to save that for the end of the episode, but since you mentioned it, I full disclosure, audience, I did accept a position of social media coordinator with Free and Equal Elections. So yeah, I was very excited when I heard about the prospect of getting the voting system out and using that to get as much of an unbiased look at the ratings of the candidates as you can, and having a voice for independent and at least in my case, particularly libertarian candidates out there is definitely something that I'd want to help out with. So that's all good stuff so far, and I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. So what I was going to ask though was, can you tell us what the plan is for the future debates? Because you were talking about doing like a couple more later this year. So what do you have in mind for that?
Well, definitely. We're going to get through this first one, Los Angeles, this winter with Jimmy Dore, and I've gone into detail about that. We plan to have hopefully at least 2 more after the primary. I mean, 2020, we had 3 live debates during a lockdown year. That was a mini miracle, and things shifted. It went from being difficult to get candidates to be at our debate. In 2016, I had a difficult time. I did not see this coming. To this day, I still don't know why, but maybe there's a reason. I couldn't even get the Green Party and Libertarian Party candidate to be at our debate. in 2016, when in 2012, that was Dr. Jill Stein, Green Party, and Governor Gary Johnson, Libertarian Party. They were in our debate with Larry King, and that got them the most recognition that they had gotten the entire campaign. In 2016, they pulled a kind of a Democrat Republican. We only maybe want to debate each other. And that was just kind of after I helped get them on the ballot too, in 6 states, 2 states, Libertarian Green. I was like heartbroken. I'm like, man, this is tough, So in 2020, I was pretty humbled. And of all parties that came in and stepped in, the Transhumanist Party came in and said, we want you to hold a debate. And we did one at Chicago Hilton, and they put up the initial funding, 5 or 10K. I was very transparent with all the candidates invited, how the funding came, and they were all cool with it. And a couple other candidates donated as well. And we had a debate, Chicago Hilton. I opened up the criteria too much, had 18 candidates there. I did not think or know that many people would say yes, because I had such a difficult time getting any candidates in 2016, and we hit more hurdles. Another story with United We Stand Festival and UCLA wrongfully going after that entity, because university systems have not been our friends in the past, but they will be in the future. But because there'll be a lot of change there too. But the debates, because of having the 18 candidates and having 3 debates in 2020, I feel confident that we're going to be able to achieve that as well in a non-lockdown year, maybe, hopefully. Just another topic, yes, open year is what's going to be 2024. So at least 3 debates, and we'll be incorporating more of that United We Stand component. Again, United We Stand, bringing together conscious artists and thought leaders and coalitions and organizations together. We'll be incorporating that more into the debate series, to where the final debate, where it may land, will break out into a United We Stand tour into 25 and 26. So we'll be inviting people running for office. I'm going to be asking every single one of those 100 plus candidates, I already am, that are running for president. If you're not elected, please run for Congress in 2026. That is the United We Stand tour. And I'm going to put as many as I can be on the stage of United We Stand, as well as all the individuals I mentioned before, and plug them all into that blockchain app. Every single candidate running for office, in office, will be plugged into our blockchain app as we build out through next year.
Yeah, well, I know the Libertarian Party in Pennsylvania will probably be running some candidates next year for U.S. House. So I'll have to talk about that later, about exactly how that'll work, because that sounds like an interesting prospect as well. Nice. So just a couple more questions. So for the later presidential debates, what do you think the selection criteria will be for that? Will it be any different?
I don't know. I think it's going to be different, but I'm not sure. You have a certain amount of candidates that beyond the primary. In the past, we've had it. I work very closely with election law expert Richard Winger of Ballot Access News. In fact, I ran for statewide office in 2010 after working as the National Ballot Access Coordinator for Ralph Nader in 2008. I crossed the political line and ran as a Libertarian for Secretary of State of California, and Winger was my campaign manager. I learned that it took only 300 signatures to get on the ballot to run within a party line, Libertarian. If I wanted to run as an independent for Secretary of State, it would have taken over 100,000 signatures. I was unable to pay for that sort of drive. So in any case, the criteria going back to the debates in 2012, 16, Winger had recommended to me this criteria, which was to be on the ballot in enough states to be viably electable. So that was the initial criteria, I believe, in 2008. And then it started to open up furthermore, where it was being on the ballot in enough states to be viably electable. How many states is that? I think it's 32 or so. I'm going to check with Winger, and or receive 2% in a national poll. So that opened it up further in 2012, where Rocky de la Fuente was able to be a part of. I think that was the candidate. So many names, so I need to go back and check. But it opened it up.
The name sounds familiar.
Right. To different, more candidates were able to be. Rocky Anderson, actually, that's who it was in 2012. Okay. But in 2016, Rocky de la Fuente was in our debate with Gloria La Riva, Socialist Party, Rocky de la Independent, I believe. And so in any case, that has been our criteria in the past. So it will be at least where you're on the ballot in enough states to be viably electable. Beyond the primary, I would hopefully, if there's a way we can engage the blockchain app to where, it's 4 or 6 candidates in 2012. For example, we had 4 candidates in our initial debate. We had 2 debates in 2012, and we allowed the people to vote in the 2 candidates that they wanted in the final debate, which turned out to be Gary Johnson and Jill Stein. So that is a possibility as well. So I'm working on it, but that's the history. And the more I can open it and allow the people to vote, the better, and implement alternative voting methods as well. Great question.
Yeah, that's awesome. And just another comment on the 2020 debates. I saw in the first 2 debates that you did, which were the part 1 and the part 2, there were at least 5 libertarian candidates that came. So that is awesome to see all that representation there, including the eventual nominee for that year, Joe Jorgensen. So that is something, and I think that's a sign of the changing culture of the Libertarian Party, because now I think a lot of the Libertarian candidates, if not all of them, if they were invited, would participate.
Yes, I mean, I've hit the challenge with Gary Johnson in 2016. I did have a Gary Johnson donate to our debate. I hope it was him, and if so, thanks for your $100, Gary Johnson. It's water on the bridge. Awesome, cool. Dr. Jill Stein, I saw her last year at the Rage Against the War Machine rally. It definitely was some challenges back in 2016, but they've done more good than not. I think that we see better candidates on the horizon, and I would be honored to have 6 libertarians if they're the 6 voted in the first round of debates. But gosh, please let there be at least one. More voices and more choices. I would love to have the transhumanists. I would love to have Constitution. I'd love to have a Republican, a Democrat, an independent. Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy has endorsed free and equal elections, as well as Marianne Williamson has endorsed us, to Ralph Nader, independent, and Dr. Ron Paul, and many more. So I am Jesse Ventura. I'm just so honored to be. What an exciting role to be in. I mean, thanks, Dad. My father passed away almost 2 years ago this December, and I miss him very much. I dreamt about him last night. It was a beautiful dream. He has all these books on history. He was a professor in economics. And so I definitely am just really happy to help carry a torch for this generation through the work of my father, and directly to bring unity, within our country and nation for all. But am I willing to take on a ballot drive of magnitude for a candidate like independent? That's kind of cool to say. Independent Robert F. Kennedy Jr. That's like the first time I'll say that. Now that he declared, yes, I've been requested and have submitted. That is a requested proposal to get him on the ballot as an independent for president. So my expertise, as Irene said in the chat, is in ballot access, has evolved into presidential debates, and is evolving into United We Stand festivals and the blockchain app. I'm standing as an expert, yes, in electoral reform and debates, sure, but I bring together all the experts and all the entities to better our country. That's my role, and unity. So I would be humbled and honored to take on a drive of that magnitude. In fact, I've held strongly in the petitioning company world. They've asked, will you come back? Because in 2016, when I got the Green parties on the ballot in a couple of states, or 6 states, and they said they wish they hired me in the national, their ballot access coordinator, wish he hired me for all 50 states. That was really cool to hear. And getting libertarians on a couple states. And then when they didn't come to my debates, Gary Johnson, Jill Stein, I was like, oh my gosh, this is not for the weary, this job. Like, you cannot take anything personal in politics. It's not for me. I'm so not into politics, but there's politics in everything we do. There's art in everything we do. It's an energy exchange. So I've been able to push through it. But the ballot access, I have not put my hat in the ring. I told myself if I'm ever going to get back into the ballot access world after that, it would be for an independent presidential candidate. And this is the first time I put in a bid. I would have done it for Marianne Williamson and others as well. Even Dr. Ron Paul in 08 told me, our team, the number one reason he didn't run as an independent for president is because of the restrictive ballot access barriers. Here's a list from Ballot Access News. I went through everything today to really tighten up the proposal for Kennedy. It is the list of all of the start and end dates for all 50 states plus DC, totaling over 940,000 signatures. This means it's just crazy. So we're going to have to collect well over 1.4 million, and I only do 100% verifications. I'm not going to put my name on a ballot drive of that magnitude unless I do everything I can for it to succeed and to protect a candidate like Kennedy from being challenged by the Democratic Party. I was able to do that for Nader in 2008. Finally, when he was challenged by the Democratic Party in 2004, 32 states, when he ran as an independent and knocked off the ballot, I took on that job in 2008 and was able to offset those challenges. And I feel very confident that I would be the person to be a part of the Kennedy, not campaign, but be hired as an individual with my petitioning company to get him on the ballot.
Yeah, ballot access is no joke. The Libertarian
No.
Party has had it for the past, in 50 states for the past, oh, I don't remember if it was the past 2 cycles or the past 3 cycles, but New York in particular has passed some really stringent ballot access laws. So it's actually up in the air whether or not even the Libertarian Party will be able to do it this year. So it's not going to be easy, but if anyone is up to the task, then I know if you're putting your mind to it, then you're definitely going to be having a lot of success where others would fail. So yeah,
The upside of potentially taking on a ballot drive of that magnitude, a fully funded one, might I add, for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. We can see speculation through Twitter of Elon Musk and others funding a ballot drive, and I've definitely had a lot of inquiries my way. Should somebody of that magnitude fund the drive, they're going to find me in the work that I do. And if they're serious, and as I've messaged with Kennedy directly, if you're serious to get on the ballot as an independent, then I'm the person to hire. It is truly what I do, what I know. I know the art better than anyone when it comes to this role. I'm the only one that successfully has done it. And my heart is in it. I'm in it for the cause. And I want to and we will through this movement that will bring votes, not only getting them on the ballot, but we'll bring the votes to get a candidate like Kennedy elected or whoever it may be. And as part of our debates, more voices, more choices. But I'm in it for the long run. And like Irene wrote in here, we need to get people elected in the state house to change these restrictive ballot access laws. And yes, once we replace Congress, and it's going to just really the domino effect into state and the state board of elections. And we're at we should at very least make the ballot access laws the same for everyone across the board. I mean, that's just the instantaneous. If you're Democrat, Republican, alternative party, any party, independent, should be the same for everyone. And I am seeing that happening one day, because it's just that's the goal, and I will not stop until we achieve that.
Yeah, and I just want to emphasize once again, since we're getting close to the hour, that there's a lot of independent, as well as in outside the two-party candidates, they're attracting a lot of attention this year because we already talked about Cornel West a little bit, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. There's like several people, as I mentioned, in the libertarian field that are attracting a lot of attention. So there's definitely going to be more eyes outside of those two parties than ever before. The Democrats didn't even have debates, despite the fact that R.F. Kennedy was running, and Marianne Williamson, among others, to try to challenge Joe Biden in the primaries. And the Republican debates have just been completely chaotic, haven't even had the front runner in them. So it's hard to take them seriously anymore, if we ever could. So just all the more reason to take a look at what Free and Equal is doing, and to just highlight the golden opportunity that we have right now to get our voices out there.
Well, thank you, Calvin, and I appreciate everything you're doing and the team. It's been truly super fun to work with cool personalities and kind people that care about our country and our world. And I thank you so much for doing what we're doing with the podcast today, and spreading a message, and asking me to be on here, and not only doing this, and I'm sure many more things I'll learn about you in the future, but helping out free and equal elections. So definitely call out there for more people who want to help on the social media and different fronts of free and equal elections. We welcome you as soon as possible. The quicker this will build. And I'm excited to work with you, Calvin, and the team across the board. And if you want to support free and equal elections, our debate, and make sure that we land prominent and or really put on an amazing debate, venue and production. It costs money, but we could do so much with seemingly 30,000 is not little to me, but to the big guys are like, how can you do that for 30,000? I think many of us in this world were like, we could do a lot with 30,000. So, but you can go to freeandequal.org and donate today to help us reach our goal of 30,000 for this debate.
Yeah, it's amazing what private organizations can do with such limited resources, like the blockchain voting and the organizing a debate of this scale. And when you look at government, they haven't changed their voting system in decades, except for getting those voting machines. But even then, you still have to physically go to your polling place, and when they could be using blockchain technology to make sure the votes are secure, and it just not even really talked about, just dubious voting machines. So it's just such a breath of fresh air to see this. So is there anything else you want to add before we hop off?
Yeah, I just respond to that. We know why they're doing it. It's these flaws that help keep getting them elected over and over again. Like, the flaws of the gerrymandering, the flaws of the voting machines, the flaws of the ballot access, the flaws of not having alternative voting methods. Singular vote's the worst voting method there is, and so on is what feeds this two-headed creature, I guess is a nice way to put it, of two parties. And so we fix it. It's just not as hard as they have made it out to be. The masses want this. It takes 2-3% of the population coming together to do that. And to really elaborate on the last topic before with ballot access, to complete, it's been a long day. So to complete the thought of getting a drive of the magnitude of Robert F. Kennedy, I have a history of when I get a big drive or have momentum like Ralph Nader in states where circulators can gather from more than one party, which there are many. I have the petitioners carry 2, 3, or more petitions at a time. So while the Kennedy campaign would pay the upfront costs, would I be willing to, and of course wanting, because I'm more for more voices, more choices, to add another petition or two, was libertarian, Constitution, and states I've handed over and or had petition drives handed over to me and hand over to next party, because I want as many parties and many voices and many choices on the ballot as possible. So anything's possible. I've already touched base with Dustin. I think he's the ballot access coordinator through Angela McCardle, and having a sense of where the libertarians are. And if there are states where they just need a little bit of that to get across the finish line, and we happen to have a crew in there for Robert F. Kennedy Jr., you better believe it, I'm there to help them cross that finish line as well.
Yeah, I was going
to much more affordable, and it makes it easier for the circulator when they're carrying a few petitions. Of course, they get paid a little more, but also people are more inclined to sign a few petitions for different parties. They're like, okay, I'm going to let the people vote for who they want to vote for.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about this before, and I suspected that you might be on board with something like that. So we'll definitely have to talk about that more, and I'm sure a lot of the people in the state and national parties will be excited to hear that as well. So thank you so much, Christina, for coming on.
Thank you for having me, Calvin. I appreciate everything you do, and look forward to working with you. Thanks for your support.
Yeah, same here. All right, until next week, we'll be on with Michael Rechtenwald, one of those candidates. We'll see you then. Don't forget to take human action. Bye.